Um, Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining. I'd like to take a few minutes waiting for the rest of the participants to join. Let's just wait for 2 or 3 minutes more, and then we start. Actually, I'm very glad to hear and glad to see that there are a lot of people from different countries ready to learn about emerging market compliance models. This is the topic of our today's discussion. I will say a bit about our event, why we do it, and what are our rules of this event. And I want, and it would be very nice if you could participate in our discussion. You all see that we have a chat in Zoom, and you can ask your questions. And if I don't know answer for these questions, maybe to your question, maybe anybody else knows, so we can discuss each other. And it is very important that we can help each other answering the questions if we have so. So good morning to everybody joining us and who has joined just recently. I would like to thank you for joining, and let me start from saying a few words about our company, about Utrace, and why we're organizing this kind of webinars. I know that some of you met our top managers during a Tracts conference in Berlin this year. Also, I'm happy to see Evgeny Rodnyansky here on the call. He's our operational director. My name is Arif, and I work in Utrace. Utrace is an international company focused on track and trace technologies, firstly originated in Russia. And also, I want to say a few words about our core business to give some evidence on our expertise. Utrace is a full cycle product company. We develop and implement a wide range of track and trace systems. At Utrace, we see the global tendency that serialization and traceability technologies are developing and spreading all over the world. And serialization, you see that it is coming to new industries: beverages, supplements, food supplements, dairy, cosmetics, medical devices, and etc. And compliance requirements are different between countries and across the industries. And we have several products helping our customers to support this process. Our top product is Utrace Hub. Utrace Hub is multi-industrial L4 track and trace software as a service system with out-of-box connectors for rapid start in multi-country environments. We have biggest track and trace team in Eastern Europe, more than 80 members. Our platform performance is proved by 4 billion SGTs per year. And also we have several products based on track and trace data, providing real-time data analysis, demand forecasting, and distribution execution control is Utrace Analytics. Also, we have Warehouse Manager product for managing warehouses and track and trace operations in warehouses, and Utrace Touch. This is an application for building digital marketing channel with your consumers, helping you to have a direct contact with them. Besides of products, we have several additional services, from track and trace system implementation to GXP validation, consulting, and full serialization outsourcing services, like data governance. Also, we do alerts management. Of course, practical experience in the most important part is very important, and currently we work with big and medium pharma companies presented in Eastern Europe. You can see some of these names. I think that maybe you're representing same company in Europe. We do it in Russia, in Kazakhstan, and also we have several ongoing projects with European companies. You see the list of the companies on this slide. And who am I? Yeah, that was very brief introduction of Utrace, and I want to say a few words about me. My name is Arif. I work with track and trace since 2011. My starting experience was with British American Tobacco, where I took part in track and trace project implementation on the production plant. And then I managed the MES implementation project, managed warehouse and logistics team. And also I had 2 years experience in managing production cells on the plants. Today I moved to Utrace to expand my expertise in track and trace, and I'm willing to work with more green and healthy industry. And now I'm on position of customer service director, and also I'm a board member of Utrace. Let me say also a few words about this event. Again, I'm very glad to see you here on Serialization Talks. So what is Serialization Talks? Serialization Talks is the platform for discussing topical issues related to serialization, track and trace, chain visibility, where we share news, opinions, solutions. Also, we invite experts from different industries that dealing with track and trace. Our event was firstly launched in 2019 in Russia. Now the Russian events are very popular, and more than 80% of pharmaceutical companies participate here in Russia. This is a monthly event, and since 2020 we started the same event in Kazakhstan. Why it became so popular? Because we have several rules here, but not actually rules, but the way how we do these events. And our main task is to make a discussion platform. We can't know everything, especially what is related to the production specifics. But if you have something to say or ask, just feel free. If you know the answer, also write the answer in the chat. And this discussion chemics is very, very good in experience sharing, and very important to have such a dialogue. Our chat is moderated. In the last 15 minutes, we will go through the questions and answers that you write. And also, don't worry, the presentations and question and answers will be emailed to all participants. Also, we will email the link to this meeting recordings. Today is the first meetings for Europe, and this is the first event. At this first event, we decided to take quite a wide topic, emerging markets. So why we did so? Actually, there are a lot of information. There is a lot of information on the internet regarding regulatory deadlines and serialization in other countries. So I decided that consolidated information and open discussion may help to be on the top of regulatory awareness for you and the awareness of the compliance models. First of all, I want to start with a poll. I want to start the first question in our poll. Let's get acquainted. Let's get acquainted, and let's check who we are. I'm launching the poll. Please answer the question. What is better describes your business? Okay, that's very good. The first question is more popular, so you are representing European production plant export in medicines to emerging markets. Okay. Okay, that's good. So I share the results with you. And also, we have some representatives from some representative from a pharmaceutical company outside of Europe. And also we have some representative of consulting agency. So welcome, welcome all of you here. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. What we will talk today about. Today we will talk about emerging markets serialization overview, what country does serialization and when. We will talk about latest news and possible issues and our experience. Also, we will talk about serialization readiness by each region. Each region, for example, has a country where serialization and track and trace have been working way more time. And we call these countries like countries influencers. Even if compliance models are implemented differently, some approaches may be the same. Just example for Asian countries where JS1 standards are accepted but not required. It means that labeling requirements may be different and that may also affect the complexity. Talking about project complexity, we share some views on how we can group different countries by implementation difficulty and speak about possible complexity mitigation. I think that you are aware of basic terms, so I will not linger on these slides. We have serialization, aggregation, and reporting. And aggregation is application of the label on the product. And when I say full track and trace, just full track and trace, I mean that full track and trace is application data matrix on secondary pack or primary pack plus aggregation plus reporting to L5 regulatory system. And okay, what is L5? It is the term from ISA 95 information layers. I think that everybody, all of you knows this standard. And where all corporate systems divided by information layers, and L5 layer is the layer of government reporting system like NMVS in Europe or Chestnut Znak CRPT in Russia. Traceability projects are always being started by governments, and usually all governments' requirements, they go through the evolution from batch coding requirements to full track and trace requirements. Why governments do that? So why we start from batch coding and then we move to serialization aggregation? Generally, because of fighting with counterfeit drugs, because counterfeit drugs is a very big problem, especially in emerging markets. Possibly you know that World Health Organization estimates the failure rates of illegal and falsified medicines in low and middle income countries at more than 10%. And according to this organization, also there is a very big problem in African regions, especially with antimalarials and antibiotics. They are most commonly reported falsified and with average failure rate around 50%. And every year, approximately 1 million people die from infection that causes malaria, for example. And this is very, very big problem. We will talk about Africa a bit later and about serialization situation in Africa. But nevertheless, let me say that governments are interested in serialization. And this is the first step in serialization evolution for each country. Also, the next step of supply chain visibility is aggregation process. Aggregation process provides more opportunities on the government level because it helps to track distribution, see lack of medicines or vaccines in different regions. It helps to control near to expire stocks and suspicious movements of stocks. The access to such kind of big data may help to build more flexible and more less risky healthcare systems, and especially it also related to critical medicines distribution during pandemics. So that's why aggregation is getting more and more common for emerging markets. But this evolution step require very high level of digitalization. And now we see this process exactly at those countries where digitalization in pharma is already maximized the returns of investment in regulatory IT systems, and this making the national healthcare system more cost efficient. But if governments to start to create full track and trace in the countries which are not ready to that, they can't receive added value. And most probably for these countries, we will not see in nearest 1 or 2 years the focus on full track and trace implementation. And that's not good, because if the companies also implement full track and trace in the country with low level of digitalization, the quality of the systems turned out to be very poor. And the good example of this is India. In addition to the quality of the system itself, there was another problem: the compliance with international standards. And if you have worked with the export of products from India, you know that you know what I'm talking about. I also would like to note that the value that the consumers receive at the level of full traceability is not greater than at the level of serialization, because for consumers it is important to make sure that the product is genuine, and they doesn't care about aggregation. And it is enough to check the code on the bundle and to have, for example, the tamper evidence for them. So aggregation doesn't give them significant added value. But for pharmaceutical companies, the situation is different, because for pharmaceutical companies, serialization, the most return on invested money gives serialization. You possibly know that aggregation gives significant increase on of operational investments in supply chain, and that's why it is very hard to receive value for money invested in aggregation. But nevertheless, full track and trace is our future, and I think that we all must adhere to the standards of regulations, and full track and trace is the future for each country and for each market that we are working with. Let's go back to governments and look at their retrospectives and their plans. If we look back at worldwide serialization in before 2019, we see that only several countries, generally in developed world, had evaluated to serialization phase. Serialization, not aggregation. The main goal was to fully prevent counterfeit medicines and illicit trade that made approximately less than 1% of total volumes, generally coming from emerging markets. Also, we see here full track and trace in India, but that not exactly full track and trace, because that was not for domestic products. They do that only for export, and generally it was driven by United States requirements. You know that India is a leader of generic exports, grabbing more than 10% of worldwide medicine export. Okay, so in 2018 till 2022, we were having, and we will have very strong impulse in government digitalization in emerging markets, giving more benefits from full track and trace, as I was just talking recently. Despite of the fact that some regions are still suffer from lack of necessary infrastructure, we see the massive amount of full track and trace systems implemented there on the map. Also, the technology itself is becoming very common, and it's getting simpler and cheaper to implement such L5 information systems with full track and trace. For example, some countries like Brazil, India, or Saudi Arabia, they are implementing their L5 systems together with specialized American company, and also it helps to do this system faster, cheaper, and better manageable. Most analytics say that since 2023, the tendency of full track and trace implementation will spread worldwide, except of most Africa regions that will continue to suffer from lack of internet penetration and infrastructure restrictions. If we're talking about trends, now we can see that globally, countries now, globally, they choose full track and trace implementation, comparing to the situation 5 years ago. Full track and trace for medicines, according to analysts, will cover 70% of emerging markets by 2027, and will cover 90% of developed countries, even 95% of developed countries. And there is another good trend, is using standards. Using standards is very important because it helps to reduce costs of serialization implementation and costs of system operations. New market make their systems and their government systems respecting JS1 standard, and this is very good for the global track and trace. Also, Asian markets, they also change their current systems and change their approach to use JS1 standards. Also, a good trend is using EPCIS because EPCIS usage, instead of outdated standard XML and ADI formats, they also help with improving the interaction between different system and partners, and also helps to speed up the implementation of track and trace systems. First of all, before we are going to the next section with regulatory updates, I want to start a new poll with the question: in what countries do you export or planning to export your medicine produced in European Union? This is a multiple choice poll. You can answer this question. And yeah, great. And we will see what regions we are interested in and what regions we will talk about with more details. I see that each region is important. A lot of answers for Middle East region, with Saudi, Bahrain. Yeah, this is very interesting region. I will talk a few words about that. Russia is also very popular, 75%. We will obviously talk about Russia and about Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Belarus countries that are going to implement track and trace very soon. Yeah, I see that for somebody it's not applicable, but okay. I am ending the poll. Please see the results. Middle East region and Russia won this poll, and we will talk with more details about these regions. Also, of course, we will talk about Asia, Africa, and Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. Okay. So thanks everybody who participated in this poll. Now we are coming to regulatory updates. What we do now, we will go region by region, and we will see situation. I will try to explain the situation here. In some regions, as I mentioned before, we can see the leading country that may define or already defining serialization standards or attitude of serialization in this region. So it can be a kind of opinion leader, and if you it will be easier for you if you already work with these countries' influencers. Also, we will talk about confirmed timelines, so the latest timelines from and timings from regulators, and we will see the watch list, so what countries should be monitored. Let's start from Asia region. In Asia region, we see India and China as the first countries to launch serialization. They started it in 2012. However, they did it too earlier, and mainly because of the requirements of the countries buying their medicines. India and China, they used to implement internal standards for coding and reporting. For example, they applying barcodes or even QR codes on primary, secondary, and tertiary packaging, while the standards and track and trace standards, they are talking about secondary packaging, and the primary packaging may be secured by other options, for example, tamper evidence. And this caused huge confusion and continue causing huge confusion in this country, importing the products and requiring serious data management process. The traceability system itself also doesn't meet necessary standards in these regions. And also the standards of data quality and for example, in India, we have necessity to report dummy codes for primary packages, even if we don't apply this this code on the primary package, but still the system requires to report these dummy codes. And this is just an example. There are a lot of other examples that system in India is not so standardized and so relevant. And I'm talking about DAVA system, that their old system, because now India implementing their new system, Ayurveda portal, and this system is going to use to be more adhere to JS1 standards and to be more data to has more relevant data management inside. Okay, let's forget about India. Let's talk about the countries that are now implementing track and trace. The first country is Indonesia. Possibly you know that Indonesia began the initial implementation of serialization in 2017. And it became the first country in Pacific region that implemented the serialization process. But they started with QR codes, and then pharmaceutical companies in India were forced to start adhering to the serialization standards of JS1 and to use data matrix codes by 2019. But in 2019-2020, due to the COVID situation and so on, the obligatory terms were postponed. However, the serialization in Indonesia is ongoing. and this year, recently in November, in the beginning of November, the National Agency of Drugs and Food Control in Indonesia, they made revision to the regulation, and the first deadline was moved to and was confirmed in December 22. Before it was December 2020 deadline. We know that OTC drugs and dietary supplements will require also the serialization implementation in 2025. That's news for Indonesia. Also, we have Malaysia. Malaysian use a bit different, so they also a bit the same. They also have serialization and aggregation mandatory starting 2023, and they are building Turkey-like track and trace model with adherence to global standards. So we don't see any significant risks with Malaysia implementation. Okay, let's talk about Middle East. In Middle East, we have two reference model. The first is Saudi Arabia, which recently have completed the implementation of L5, as well as Turkey. Turkey is very old in track and trace implementation system. This country have implemented full traceability and can become like a reference model, so countries' influences for other countries in the watch list. And in the watch list, we see some countries that has already implemented serialization, only the serialization, that Jordan, Oman, and United Arab Emirates. And currently, we don't have evidence that they are starting full track and trace there, but most probably they will do it in the next 2 or 3 years. So this is the countries that we need to watch. And also new projects possibly will be started next year in Lebanon and Qatar. And now we have active implementation in Bahrain, which has already launched their serialization process, and now we have a grace period till the end of December, where serialization is optional, and we can the pharmaceutical companies can prepare more to the deadline period in 21st of December. And starting the 1st of May, the aggregation in this country will be mandatory. But also there are a lot of nuances for serialization in this system. For example, only direct shipments in Bahrain should be reported, and also reporting only should be done by the company that physically moves the product towards Bahrain. And all the commissions and aggregations should only be sent in equal amount, that equal to shipment. But Bahrain has very good documentation and very good contact with regulators. So if you are going here on this market and we are going to implement your system, track and trace system, to adapt track and trace system to Bahrain, it's quite it will be quite easier to communicate. They also support all their documentation in English. If we go in further, sorry, to South America. In South America, there are no reference models in this region. In watch list, we have Argentina that started its serialization since 2015. Also, on the North America, we have United States. The United States serializing their medicines since 2017, and they're going to have full track and trace by 2023. But still, Argentina has quite quite good described standards, and but still there is no information for aggregation and full track and trace implementation here. Sorry. In this region, we have two active implementation. The first one is Brazil. Brazil is actively implementing a system with full traceability. But for now, aggregation is optional, and it will be optional by this time. Brazil is using common standards, and it seems that the system in Argentina and Brazil will be similar in terms of the processes. Also, we have Ecuador. Ecuador is the implementation takes place in quite closed mode, so we don't have any updates what will be going on after the phase 1 serialization, where we have 200 medicines. And most likely that the must launch will take place in 2023 or 2024. So also Ecuador should be in our watch list here. Speaking about African region, as I told, the situation in Africa is the most difficult. And there are two important issues here. Firstly, there is a difficult situation with illegal pharmaceutical products, and that forces and requires urgent measures to introduce serialization here. But on the other hand, the fragmentation of countries is very high, and also we see a quite low level of infrastructure here. I mean, the availability of internet first, and information about implementation of IT solutions here is very, very low. Actually, we don't have any information from these countries, except of South African Development Community. It includes 16 countries that announced the launch of a joint labeling project, but after a while, some countries decided to launch their own solutions, and after that, many countries exited this project, this united project that is not good, because only in united mode they can start something here. So far, I can say that the more economically developed countries on the north, like Egypt, Tunisia, Ethiopia, and also some countries, more developed countries from south of Africa, like South Africa or Botswana, looks to be the closest candidates for serialization implementation. The only country that we have more news is South Africa, but still we are in touch with regulator, but regulator doesn't have any news, and regulator doesn't give us any new information. We just asked them recently, maybe 1 week ago. Still, their serialization deadlines are the same, but it looks like it will not remain the same, and most probably these dates will be moved forward in Africa. Okay, so, and now Eastern Europe. Yeah, I saw in the poll that most of you work with Russia and you understand the very big and very complex track and trace system implementation in Russia. And in Russia, we have separate system for pharma, is MDLP, a system by CRPT. And also For non-pharma products, we have GSMT system. This is an absolutely different system that require different system and different connectors. It means that, for example, if you produce not only medicines but also medical devices or food supplements, it means that you will go through the separate serialization project. It will not be such big such project in MDLP, but still it will be another project. And we can say that in the countries in watch list and also Kazakhstan that is already implementing its track and trace, they all use the GSMT-like system. So the system like we have in Russia for non-pharma products. The latest news for Kazakhstan is that in the end of March 2023, and sorry, in the end of June 2023, they will require 100% serialization and aggregation will be mandatory. And also we have news from the country in watch list, from Uzbekistan, from Kyrgyzstan, that they are going to, and they expect the full track and trace implementation by 2023. And I can say that also Belarus and Armenia that are members of European Eastern Europe Economical Union, they also most probably will be in full track and trace mode in 2023. So we should prepare that all these countries like Uzbekistan, Belarus, Armenia, Kyrgyzstan, they will implement the track and trace system that will look like GSMP system in Russia for non-pharma. It's very important because regulators in this country are not happy to say about their plans on time, and it means that they can say, for example, in the beginning of next year, that in the end of next year we must be prepared for serialization. And of course, this should be included. This risk should be included to your serialization program if you have that. The other countries from the watch list are South European, non-European Union countries, like, for example, like Macedonia or Serbia. And also in watch list, we have Ukraine. All these countries are going to implement an MVS-like system, and Ukraine has already confirmed the implementation of an MVS-like STOC system, like according to European Union model. We don't know yet will they have full track and trace, or they're going to implement just serialization, but still they have such intentions, and most probably in the beginning of next year we will find out some news on their future system. That's the news from Eastern Europe region. If you have any questions, you can write down, it's in the chat, and I will try to answer in more details if you have specific questions for the specific country. Also, I can say that, I already told about medical devices and food supplements. They also implementing in Russia, and serialization for this kind of products will be mandatory next year. Now let's summarize the information about the regions, and I tried to group them by the level of difficulty of launching the markets. On the top level difficulty, I put Russia and India, that has very highest complexity, and they have L5 dependent system. I mean, for example, if you want to order serial numbers and data matrix, you have to communicate with the regulator system. It's not common situation. We have that only in Russia, in India, and also, as I know, in Malaysia. Not on Indonesia. And also the same situation will be for Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan and Armenia, for the countries from Eastern Europe Economic Union. For Russia and for India, for example, it's not possible to mitigate any risks connected with these countries, because they have obligatory reporting, and there are no ways how to mitigate this reporting or do this reporting in any other way. But comparing to the countries of Eastern Europe Economical Union, like Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, these countries I put in the lower complexity. They still have high complexity. Also, they suffer of lack of regulatory documentation. Also, they use crypto codes, and you have to pay for these codes. And but the main thing here, and very important, that factories outside of market, they are not participants of the turnover. It's very important because for example, in Kazakhstan, if you are not a turnover participant, you don't have your cabinet in the government system, and you don't need to order. So the codes ordering is not your problem. It is the problem of local companies. They require to order codes and to serialize the product. It means that there are two ways of serialization. You can serialize this product directly on your plant, for example, if you have the necessary equipment, or your local companies or distributors who distribute your product in Kazakhstan, for example, they can use the serialization on the local customs warehouse. So it means that, for example, you can provide unserialized product to Kazakhstan, and then the local company will serialize it locally. That's a possible mitigation for the situation when you don't have necessary equipment to apply labels on the product for these countries. The countries like Brazil, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, so on, and Middle East countries, I put it here in medium or low complexity, because they all have JS1 standards for the coding. So there is no need to make any big changes during the brand change process. Also, they have a quite good regulatory documentation, or they will have such documentation. And actually, they need no mitigation, because the requirements here are most common, like you have now on other countries. And also, I added one more slide with unknown situation. Also, we have quite big complexity for the countries, like, for example, like Ukraine or Pakistan or African countries, where we don't know their complexity, and these countries need continuous regulations monitoring. Okay, that's unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to dive deeply into the recommendations and regulatory regulatory updates, detailed regulatory updates for each country. And I can say that if you have any questions, so for example, you are going to move to one of these country that we were talking about, you can contact me and I will give you more information regarding this country, or I will send you all information that we have regarding the implementations, track and trace implementations in these countries. So please feel free, and I think my contacts also will be in the mail that we will send to you after this event. What also I want to outline today, I think that we must, I must share some life hacks how to simplify the serialization journey, and what else can help based on our experience. What else should we think about? Firstly, I think that everybody needs to update the serialization programs and to check the serialization programs, because this document should be as relevant as possible and take into account the requirements of different countries. We see the situation that track and trace implementations we have more and more track and trace implementations in different countries, and that may be a problem if you don't plan these implementations and don't include the information regarding these countries in the serialization program. I also recommend creating a serialization program together with the developers of your track and trace systems or your consultants who helped you with track and trace implementation. For example, we are working on this program together with our clients, and we correlate our system development plan, implementations and launch dates for the requirements of regulators with the serialization program of our clients. It's very, very important to have collaboration with them in this case. And also, the systems themselves must be very flexible. This will allow you to do fast onboarding of other regions and other countries. Also, I will repeat that it is very important for developing countries, because sometimes the requirements of the regulator, they become so strict in terms of timings that it becomes difficult for companies, especially when several products are running at the same time. In addition to the serialization program, it is necessary, especially for countries with dependent L5, with the systems that depended on L5 government systems. For example, Russia, to pay great attention to the quality of codes and application. And it is very important to include, for example, code verification system in quality instructions and quality procedures on the factories. There are code validators, so-called code validators for example, for Russia. And if you use this code validator, you can ensure that this code can be distributed further. Why I'm talking about this? Because we have several cases with our clients when products manufactured in a European factory had to be written off because an error was made when with the encoding, for example, or with the code, and this code was read at the factory successfully, but it was not read by the specialized devices in the disposal points in Russia, and that's why it's very important to include in your quality procedures the validation of these codes before we ship this patch to Russia or to, for example, Kazakhstan. And the third option is the presence of a person who is responsible for labeling and data management on site. In Russia, we even special launched such service where we offer outstaffing services with experienced data management specialists who completely closes issues with possible errors in reporting, issues with interacting between the regulator, between the different departments of your company, and they also perform problem management procedures if any problem exists. So it's also important that you have such kind of service or specialists onboarded. Actually, that was the last slide. Please subscribe to our LinkedIns. Let's keep in touch. I want to, before we go to a question and answer session, I would like to start a new poll. And we would like to ask you what you want, what next Serialization Talks topics would be interesting for you. Also a multiple choice question. We can talk about serialization equipment, about application problems, speed, material, and trend. We can ask experts to come here from serialization equipment producers to speak about these issues. Also, we can speak about upcoming aggregations in European Union. We will think how to address potential risks and issues with full track and trace implementation in Europe. We can invite some specialists, for example, analytics, who are from the countries that implemented full track and trace, and we will talk about this, the risk and issues, so you can make necessary improvements to your serialization programs. And also we can talk about alerts management. I know that also it is very important and hot point today in European Union. I know that there are solutions for alerts management, but still alerts management gives a lot of manual work and a lot of difficulties to the companies in Europe. Okay, I'm ending my poll and share the results. Actually, all of us want to have next meeting with the upcoming meeting with the aggregations, talking about aggregations in European Union. Okay, and of course, alerts management is very important. Thank you very much. We will note your willings, and obviously our next meeting will be on the topic, on one of these, will be about one of these topics. Okay, if you have any questions, please write down in the chat, and we have time, but already, yeah, we don't have we don't have time. It's already 7 p.m. Or not 5 p.m. European time, and let's do the following. If you have any question, you can write in chat, and I can answer it now. If you don't have time, please feel free to leave. And you will have all necessary, all our today's slides, and all questions that you have further, you can address by email. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I see questions in chat. Okay, these questions are not about. Thank you, Konstantin. These questions are not about the topic of today's meeting. Okay, as we have no more questions, again, thanks everybody, and have a good day and enjoy the upcoming weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariana. Bye-bye.